Let me tell you the really fun story of the state of Ohio basically threatening my business for $25,000 when I maybe only sold like $15,000 in that state the whole time I ran my business. So to start, I'm just going to give a little bit of basics of sales tax so you can kind of understand how this all happened. So different states have different laws when you need to start collecting sales tax to then file and then pay to the states. So I partially through a year, I think, had hit the threshold where I needed to start collecting and paying Ohio sales tax. And like a good person, I decided, you know, I was supposed to have paid it maybe months back and I hadn't been collecting it. I will pay what was due on those on those sales, but let me sign up now and start the process of paying, you know, what I'm supposed to start paying from this point forward. And I'll just deal with the expenses of the ones that I missed. But I will for sure pay those. You know, I'm not going to put off signing up for paying the sales tax. So I signed up for it. I maybe paid a few months if possible. And then you get these lovely, here, I'm going to cover up my address and stuff with the Post-it notes. But these lovely forms start showing up. So sales tax, delinquency notice, immediate action required. I probably got about 5 of these. It's basically just saying for certain reporting periods, I did not pay the sales tax that was due. And then it's saying, we have not received the sales tax return for the period ending, and then it gives a date. It must be filed. They give you a generous 20 days to try to file that. And a lot of these states make you pay by like what county and city that these sales were made in. And if you didn't have a software collecting that information for you, like I sat and went through basically Zillow listings, putting the addresses in Zillow to look up the county and the cities. Well, the city would have been in the address, but to look up the county. So it was very time consuming. And at this point in my business, I was working like 80 hours a week just to ship orders and then order new inventory and get it added to the website and stuff. So I was stressed out. So I did not get it quite done in these 20 days. And I did notice it said on the bottom here that failure to comply may result in an assessment notice, including estimated tax, interest, and penalty. And I'm almost certain at this point that I at least had paid 1 month of what I owed, like from when I had started collecting the information, when I had a program collecting it for me. I'm almost certain I had one paid, which probably would have been about $100 in sales tax. So then the next things that start popping up are notice of assessments. And one thing I will say that I discovered that states will just pick a number out of their booty hole and they will just threaten you. So if you get into business, have fun with that. So if you are not up to date on stuff, you will just get threatened with an absurd number to scare the living daylights out of you because you don't have this money just sitting around. So anyway, the next one that showed up were these notice of assessments. These were delivered by certified mail, which means that the postal person had to actually like physically hand it to me, like knock on the door and physically hand it to me. So I had like 5 of these show up. You know, they paid whatever the expensive postage it would have been for the delivery person to have to physically hand it to me. And then, if you remember, I was saying that I most likely had paid a few months, and I paid about $100 in sales tax. So what does the state of Ohio then do? They say, your tax due is $3,500 because, you know, you've paid a few that are $100, so we're just going to estimate you owe $3,500 for 1 month when you don't even sell that amount in 1 month. But we're just going to say that's what's due. And then we add all these other fees. We got pre-assessment interest, $56.06. Additional charge penalty, $122.50. Additional charge, because you know, you can't put the additional charge penalty and the additional charge even in the same line. You have to make them different lines. So the additional charge is $350. Assessment penalty on tax is $1,225. And then, you know how we said that you missed your payment of $3,500, which we just pulled that number out of nowhere. I don't know if that's an average amount or like the median amount of what businesses owe. I have no idea. But they figure every single person, even small businesses, should be threatened with that amount. So, amount owed for this 1 month where I maybe had like $500 worth in sales to the state of Ohio that month. But amount owed, you see that right there? $5,253.56. if this doesn't make you want to slightly jump off of a bridge, you're mentally strong. I don't know. Like, this is messed up, I think. To send this, and I got 5 of these. First one, you know, I just said the number, $5,253.56. The next one, $5,238.61. The next one, $5,262.19. The next one, $5,245.51. The next one, $5,271.39. So when you total that all up, that's more than $25,000. And I did not have $25,000 just sitting around, because with my business, I was maybe making like 50 grand a year, but I was basically putting it all back into inventory. So I had like no money sitting around. Yes, I had savings, but you're going to take my whole retirement account because you just made up numbers? I don't know. On the bottom of these, it says, the estimated assessment was issued for failure to file the sales return for the period ending, and then this one was like January of 2022, to pay the liability due for that period. To adjust this estimated liability, a return must be filed and payment made for this period. So I did go and I did file for all these before I don't know what they would do. Like, would they actually come after me for 25 grand because they just made up a number? I have no idea. And then you have like this little check thing on the bottom. They legit thought I was supposed to just cut that off and send that much money in? I don't know. To appeal this assessment, follow instructions on the second page, because there were 2 pages. And it says, important information about this assessment. The amount owed must be paid in full within 60 days of the date shown on the enclosed assessment to avoid additional interest. The department does not arrange for installment payments. However, partial payments can be made at any time and will be credited against the amount owed. So right here, they're just saying you have 60 days to figure this all out. And we also will make you pay by city and county, and you will hate your life as you look up at every single address and the amount you collected there. But you know, we'll only give you 60 days, otherwise you owe an absurd amount of money that we just made up. This assessment is sent to the Attorney General's Collections Enforcement 60 days from the date you receive this assessment. That office may obtain a lien and or contract with a private attorney and or collection agency to enforce collection of this assessment. The Attorney General's Collections Enforcement section can agree to a payment plan under certain conditions. To appeal this assessment, the petition for reassessment must be received within 60 days from the date of this assessment was received. The petition must be in writing and signed by the taxpayer or an authorized agent. The department will schedule a hearing only if a hearing is requested with a timely filed petition. And you know what? I don't think I did that. To send a petition for reassessment, use one of the following methods. So, electronically, e-fax, mail. I'm pretty sure what I did, I just went on and paid it. It being the amount that I calculated that I actually owed, not their made-up number. So I'm like, what are they going to tell me from there that when I go on and pay it, are they going to try to say, no ma'am, your numbers are wrong? I don't know. I think that's what I did. But I don't know. I think this is ridiculous just to hit small businesses with this when they're trying. Like, I was legit trying. I was going to pay the penalties. So I went in and I paid those 5 months that were due. So now they said notice of corrected assessment. These show up in the mail. And looking back at these, I'm surprised I was as chill as I was dealing with these. Because, I mean, that is stressful that they just come threaten you with that. And for all I know, I don't know, I probably did something wrong and they'll still come get me. But notice of corrected assessment. I have 4 of them here, but I probably had a 5th one somewhere. These say, the tax commissioner hereby corrects the original issued assessment date, and then it picks like the date, whatever the other papers were for, by issuing the followed corrected assessment. They'll say the original one was, you know, like that $3,500, and then like this one, I probably filed it and I found out that I owed $83.51. You know, they were just a little far off in estimating. And the fact that I had already paid months that they could have just estimated off of that. I don't care if you even quadrupled what I paid, but what is the percentage of that? Let me figure that out. 83.51 divided by 3,500. I owed 2.3% of what they tried to say I owed. Anyway, so now I had paid that amount. I had paid what I had owed, and then they hit you with the pre-assessment interest. Now, on my corrected amount, I was charged $1.19, additional charge penalty $17.50, additional charge, because again, you can't put the additional charge penalty and the additional charge even on the same line. So the additional charge is $50, and then assessment penalty on tax was $29.23. So now they're saying, because this was like all these penalties, so I had paid the $83.51, but I now had owed $181.43. So they took off some tax or payments and credits, and I still owed $96.73. Now I'm pretty sure I paid that. Feels like a lot of money just flew out the door. And then again, the amount owed must be paid within 60 days to avoid additional interest. And so this happened, you know, on all those different dates. So another one I owed, after all the penalties, I owed $97.29. The next one, after the penalties, I owed $85.85. The next one, I owed $112.16. So what, they just took, how much is that? They probably took like $500 just in these penalties. And I feel like the worst part almost is because I signed up for sales tax earlier. Like, instead of putting it off and just saying, I'm just going to pay these penalties, I'll sign up now and I'll kind of deal with the penalties. Well, once you sign up, like 2 months later, you start getting threatened with these notices. So it really doesn't give you much time. It's almost like I should have waited, and then when I actually had all the numbers figured out, then I could have signed up. I could have just paid everything at once and then just get hit with these penalties once and not get threatened with the ones that are $3,500. To me, I honestly feel like stuff like this should not be legal from states. I don't know. I think it's ridiculous. I've also seen, like, there's people bigger than me that had bigger companies, and they'll get threatened, like, there's some error in their state income tax paid, and then they'll just get hit with a letter saying you owe $1 million. Like, they just pick a random number. Is this like factoring in Amazon when they're factoring in what I owe? Like, oh, we're gonna take the median of the companies and you're gonna owe that amount. The sad thing is, when I think this happened, is I'm pretty sure I had been threatened by another state prior. I think it was Illinois, and I can't really find the paperwork for that anymore. I'm actually dealing with a few struggles still with Illinois because I was just so overwhelmed with the business, and they sent me a letter saying, hey, you owe $27. And then I missed that because I think what had happened is I had paid something that I had missed, and then they're saying, okay, here's the interest and penalty on it, pay your $27. I had missed that letter opening it. I'm finding it out 2 years later. And then they had sent me another one after that point, like 2 months after it. And it had said, okay, we basically added $60 to what you owe. So now you owe $87. So I did pay that one, but now I'm 2 years late, and now I'm worried, are they going to come after me for, what's 20 times 30? $600? And I wouldn't be surprised if they do that. And you know what? I drive through Illinois to get to family. And you know what I didn't do for the longest time? And I still think about, I hate buying gas there. I hate buying anything in that state. Because these states, when they mess you up. Trying to file that sales tax for Illinois, because theirs is even more complicated. It's like you have to break it down by like city, county, and then they have random transit sales tax that you're supposed to figure out. And I know I was overpaying because I didn't necessarily know what I was doing, and I didn't want to underpay, so I was overpaying by, I feel like, almost double. It's like, I want to spend no more money in Illinois. You will not catch me moving to Illinois to Ohio, because Ohio sent me all this stuff, or Utah, because Utah also sent me stuff. Utah was a little less mean than Ohio, though, so good on Utah. My main thing is, I don't know why these states don't all just charge a flat tax. I get a lot of them don't charge a flat tax for sales tax in the state, but why don't they make it that online sales is a flat number? I wouldn't even care if it was more. Let's say it was 8% on all online sales, instead of making us figure out all the different counties. Now, I use Shopify, and now Shopify has a tool where they will find those numbers for you, but you do have to pay a certain percentage for that. I think it's like 1/3%, but I just think it's ridiculous. Filing the Illinois one, because that was the first one I was dealing with, the amount of times I literally just wanted to pull all my hair out, and I would just be crying at my computer trying to figure it out. It makes you never want to go into a business again. Now, I'm crazy and I will do another one, but I know now to be really on top of that stuff. Like, if I'm using Shopify, the moment it says you are liable for a state, I'm collecting it, I'm reporting it, I'm not putting it off. And I am thankful now that they have the programs that will help keep track of the amounts you owe. Where when I first started, they didn't have that. I was having to export everything into Excel and then make some weird spreadsheet. And then, like I said, I was looking up stuff on Zillow to try to find the counties. It was a whole mess. And it'd be one thing if I got really rich from my business. But I didn't. And there's a lot of people who are probably in a similar situation who are losing money with their business. Like, I'm thankful that mine could afford to pay all these late fees, but what if I had no money and I felt like my business was bleeding me of money, and then they just ask for an extra $500 and they threaten me for $25,000? It feels like it should not be legal.